Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today I'd like to share with you all my final thoughts on the CJRB knives Pyrite Light. To make a longer review, short and sweet, do I recommend it? Absolutely. Do I love it? Yes, I do. But if you want to go ahead and stick around and see what I got to say about it, let's get into it. I got 6 size comparison size knives to compare. To help you guys get a good visual representation of what this is all about, we'll take the weight and then we'll get into the rest of it. Should be pretty short and sweet for the most part. Start with some big ones here. Microtech MSI, Spyderco Manix 2 Lightweight. Just imagine with me for a second if CJRB made a a pyrite the same size as this right here. That would be pretty cool. I'm not the biggest fan of big knives, but I would buy that. I think it'd be pretty awesome. It'd be a mega slicer for sure. Here at the bottom we have the CMB made knives Predator. At the top we have the, I almost forgot the name of it, the CVV Vision FG. Wanted to call it something else, I kind of just blanked there. Last two, Spyderco Native 5, whole lot smaller, and Free Tiger FT2103. So it is damn near the same overall as that Free Tiger, which is about the same length overall as a standard Benchmade bug out. Let's go ahead and actually get this guy out real quick, just to show you guys that while this guy is just a little bit lengthier overall, you do get similar amounts of usable blade length and a similar forward finger choil space there. So there is that. Yeah, that Vision FG is pretty freaking great, and that's what I believe that FG stands for. I know it feels great, but it's freaking great to me. All right, let's get the weight on this. And this is supposed to be the Pyrite Light, right? So to my surprise, yeah, it is pretty light for what it is, but I will say 2.8 ounces isn't really super crazy impressive, because if you, let's get this back out again. So this was at 2.8, right? A full-size Manix 2 Lightweight, 3 ounces. A couple days ago I actually got 2.9, but there's not that much of a difference in weight, because this actually has full steel liners and there is zero weight relieving. There should have been, there could have been, there is zero excuse for why there wasn't. FRN, even at this thickness, is rigid enough for the build, right? You're not going to be, you know, busting down bricks with these things with this particular design here. This is supposed to be a slim carry utility kind of folder fidget knife. You don't need mega handle strength and rigidity with this. I'm glad that it's there, and I know a lot of people are happy that it's there, but honestly I think it was just kind of lazy that there was zero milling done on the inside. Now if you really wanted to, you could go and drill a bunch of holes in it if you want to bring that weight down to something that's actually impressive and that would definitely warrant the name of the Pyrite Light. This, in reality, it's not that light. It's a standard weight of a thinner carried knife with the materials of super thin stocked blade, about as thin as a Benchmade bug out, and FRN scales, right? But this guy right here is a large, is a large full-size knife. There is zero I guess like anything on the inside, but there is a structural pattern to the inside to retain rigidity that could have been done and implemented into this. Now, as far as I know, the process of FRN, it's a molded material, so just get better designed molds that would allow for a grid pattern on the inside to help with structural rigidity. So I think that was kind of lazy. This could have been done a little bit better. Now when it comes to the complication of having a sturdy environment for the button lock itself, the standard plunge lock here, that is where I'm actually a little stumped. But I'm thinking, what if it was just a steel liner on the one side, also with some holes for weight relieving, and then the top side of it, the side where the button is actually sticking out, well, this is a ambidextrous in a way styled knife. You can reverse a clip, which is awesome. Lefties should be able to enjoy something like this. And as affordable as it is, 30 bucks, yeah, all day, yes please. This has actually gone on super sale a couple times, and some people have said that they've got it for like 25 or 26 bucks, which is just insane of a deal, right? But that's something that I probably would have done if I was working for their development department when it comes to just making things work and, you know, doing things that I'm sure the community would appreciate. If you were to have gotten rid of the one liner that has 0 milling for weight relieving and just kept this top one here and having a pattern on the inside that would allow for structural rigidity, just kind of like how Spyderco does with their stuff. It's not patented, it's nothing fancy, anybody could do it. And then keeping the liner on one side and add some holes for weight relieving, this thing would probably go down to, chances are, like 2 ounces. And from 2.8 to 2 ounces, I think that's actually kind of impressive, because realistically what you have here is a larger, not a full size like a giant freaking knife, but you have a very useful length overall, very comfortable in hand as well. And it would have been really light. It would have been actually really impressive. And you know what, there are people that just don't like lightweight knives. There are people that refuse to buy something like this because, truth be told, it's just a plastic handle. There's nothing inside of it. I love this because it allows for people like me, a lot of people like you as well, to be able to get really cool blade materials through sprint runs. I got CPM Rex 45. There's coated and uncoated, for a super affordable price. Like 4th of July just passed, and I believe GP Knives was selling the uncoated version with the white FRN. It was $105 or $110. They're practically giving them away at that price point. This is a US production knife with insane blade material, and it has the actual screws on the body where you could take it apart, not like the riveted variations that should honestly all be discontinued at this point. But a lot of people don't like them because they're just plastic, right? But it's a little confusing because you have such a large useful blade shape that you'd want to put it through harder tasks, but then the handle feels cheap as hell. This feels extremely well balanced, not balanced in the literal sense of balance, because the balance is horrible on this. I'm talking about the balance of materials here. You have a super thin utilitarian blade shape that comes down to nothing behind the edge. I've put 3 edges on this. There is a 16-degree edge on here. I've blazed through so much freaking cardboard. My little sister got a bunch of, she got some new furniture for her room, and everything came in like little pieces and boxes and stuff. And I just had a grand old time just going through, blazing through a bunch of boxes out in the backyard. And this thing just took it like a champ. I could definitely feel at a certain point where this thing lost its actual biting edge and was really just moving through material because of the geometry of it, which is insane. Not a lot of things you could say the same thing about. Probably, you know, a handful of Spydercos can do that as well, where after they genuinely lose their edge, they will still perform and move through material as if they still got a live edge on them. But here, you have something that you know, you gotta know what you're buying and where you're going to take it and where you're going to use it. This is not meant for the construction job site. This is meant for day-to-day little precision tasks. Nothing hardcore, nothing crazy. A tip, it just disappears. It's freaking thin as hell. The stock, beautifully thin for what it is. I think it's very appropriate and quite impressive. There's a flat up here. It is slightly radius or crowned up here. A little bit of jimping. The jimping is really faint and damn near meaningless. Wish it was a little bit deeper, right? Not that big of a deal. But yeah, going back to the whole the literal weight of this, the balance on this is right about there, and the handle just feels, it's so handle heavy. So when you're up here in the forward grip, I actually feel like there's more weight back there versus how just thin and airy this blade actually is. Now in use, it's not that big of a deal. I'm complaining about really nothing here, but I will say that I do think it's a little bit silly that I am not a knife designer. I don't work for knife companies, and clearly there was a better way to have gone about this that may in fact would have saved you know, some cost when it comes to materials and machining time. So I personally think that it would cost less just to actually mold a piece that has a grid on the inside for structural rigidity and lose the one you know, steel plate on this side. It's possible, could have been done. They didn't do it. Maybe they do something like that in the future, and I'm not trying to take credit for anything, but I think that that would be pretty awesome. But as you can see, this unit is just beat to shit. There's some like ugly rub marks here. This has been dropped multiple times. I left this thing too close to the grill the other day. It got a little charred. I tried sanding some of it off. You know, it looks the way it does because it's just been in the pocket so much, and I've genuinely loved every second with this thing in the pocket. Another thing as well that I can complain about, but realistically is not the end of the world. You look at the finish of this coating here. It is a PVD coating. It was matte. The color was actually a matte finish, like down here in this area that doesn't see much, you know, surface contact, you know, going through materials. But everything up here, there's streaks of polish in a way. You can actually see a reflection, and as a reflection of my fingers here kind of fades out as it goes down this way and gets kind of blurred out. That's because cardboard, you know, is an abrasive material, and it's actually in a way slightly polishing this PVD blade. I think it would have been really cool if this already came with a slight tumble polish over it, because PVD is cool and all, especially at this price point. I can't really complain, but I will say that it was kind of gross seeing, you know, just a couple times that I went through some material and there were just these bright streaks of polished surface, you know, splitting the dull matte surface of the rest of the blade. And you can't wipe it off. You can't get rid of it. You can't keep this thing pristine. And I understand it's a cheap, affordable budget knife. But yeah, so that's pretty much my whole thing with it being called the Light. You know, the marketing towards it is making people think that this thing is going to be just ridiculously lightweight and just super crazy. I think 2 ounces is insane. That's possible. That is absolutely achievable. But what they did here was just slap something together that was very easy to do, super affordable, as cheap as possible, and just give it a different name. Not the biggest fan of that. And I'm not trying to crap on their design and development team, but I'm a nobody. And even I could see that there's a better way to do it that is probably going to be more effective, just as sturdy, and more affordable for the company, right? Besides all that nonsense. Right. I've actually been enjoying this quite a bit. If I didn't mention before, you can flip the clip. This is a fully ambidextrous knife, which I think is absolutely wonderful. Lefties are going to be able to enjoy this quite a bit. If you're choked up, me personally, I don't feel that I can actually depress that button. The throw, the travel on the button, I think is extremely healthy. The springs that are using in here are way better, way better than the ones that they've used in the past on some of their other stuff. Now, I've handled 2 other pyrites before. I had, you know, the top tier aficionado, super fancy high-end pyrite that was like $200 something. Wasn't the biggest fan of that. I had the first alt blade, or the Warncliffe blade with the steel handles, that was impressive as well, but you know, it weighed 1.5 tons for what it was. This is pretty darn close to perfect for me. Yeah, going back to the beginning, I highly recommend it. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Maybe another little thing that I would add, some constructive criticism, is make the texturing a little bit more pronounced. Just something a little bit deeper, a little bit more aggressive. Not super aggressive to where it's going to snag going in and out of the pocket, because the carry experience of this is wonderful. It's flat screws, it's, you know, folded over bent steel clip. I think it's wonderful. Zero hot spot, it's not gonna snag on anything. And but I do definitely believe that it is just a little bit soft. It's a little bit slick for what it is, and I've dropped that a couple times. And I don't have butterfingers. I have, you know, I'm used to having a pretty good substantial grip on a lot of different knives. Whether they're cheap or expensive, I treat them all the same. This versus, you know, this dude right here. So I got this in the other day. As you can see, I've been beating the crap out of it. It's cardboard and stuff. But this is super slick. It's the glass blasted scales. It's not the typical sand blasted one that's super chalky feeling. This is slick. I don't have a difficult time keeping a hold of that. There is some substantial weight to that as well. Has a Chris Reeve Sebenza 31 large. This, on the other hand, while it is small, should be a little bit easier to hold in hand, you know, not as big and cumbersome as that other one, for example. This is a little bit on the slicker side. So, again, things that could be very easily fixed through just getting better molds. A mold with a little bit more texture, a mold that would allow for a different pattern on the inside to delete that steel scale on the inside there. But going to the actual action, the disengagement, the deployment, all methods are incredible. They're wonderful. Super snappy, super aggressive, doesn't feel cheap at all. The actual retention of keeping that blade in there, it's on the lighter side. This is a button lock knife. What do you expect? It's just kind of how they are. But because you're able to put a good bit of force and intent behind those studs, it just sounds super snappy. And it hasn't changed since I got it. It's just been getting better and better as it's broken in, and I'd say that this is definitely well broken in at this point. There are bearings in here as well, of course, but that's pretty much it. There's not much more to go over. T8 body screws, T8 pivot on both sides. It is D-shaped, which is wonderful. Flip the clip over, T6 for the clip, nothing super crazy. Some little silver standoffs, a pass-through for lanyard if you like lanyards. That's it. I recommend it. I think it's awesome. I think that something of this platform in an XL would be awesome. Keeping the studs or going back to the hole, I don't really think it's much of a difference. Let me know if you prefer studs or if you would prefer to see a XL of this with a hole. I think the one with the hole would be a little cleaner looking, but the one with the studs would be a little bit snappier, right? That's really about it. So if you guys like this video, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing because I've got more videos and content coming you guys this way. And with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.